fast forward to about a month ago, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, American officials start saying, Russia's about to invade Ukraine. And Russia's like, no, we're not. And then they're like, no, Russia's about to invade Ukraine. And Russia's like, we really aren't going to invade Ukraine. And they're like, no, Russia, you're having military exercises in Belarus. And they're like, we do that every year. We told you about this. Like, what's going on here? And they're like, no. The USA just starts beating the drum. Russia is going to invade Ukraine. And Russia's like, okay. Russia actually starts moving troops away from the border, saying, look, we're not going to invade Ukraine. And just to reassure you, we're going to move our troops away from the border so that you don't think we're going to invade Ukraine. And so as soon as Russia starts moving its troops away from the border, then all of a sudden bombs started going off. Bombs started going off in Lugansk. Bombs started going off in Donetsk. All the shelling, where they're firing mortars and all that just started, piling in. And it was really clear what the United States was doing. They were faking out the world so they could set the stage for, an effort to just take out Lugansk and Donetsk. They've been waiting all this time. And the idea was that Russia would be so intimidated by these, these allegations that, they're about to invade Ukraine, that when this offensive happened, they wouldn't be able to move in and stop these people from being slaughtered. Well, Russia said, no, we are going to move in and protect these people. So first, Putin recognized the governments of Lugansk and Donetsk. He said, you guys have been asking for our recognition for 8 years. Well, you are now, we recognize you as countries. And he was immediately joined by all the communist world, practically. Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, Iran recognized them. The Houthi revolutionaries in Yemen recognized them.
Yeah, but they're all bad.
Right. As recognized the people's republics. And then because these governments that they now recognize are asking for their protection, Russia moved its military in to protect the Donetsk People's Republic and the Lugansk People's Republic. And as, the Ukrainian military continued to attack them, Russia then moved its forces into the rest of Ukraine to take out the Ukrainian military and say, you're not going to attack these people. And so Russia is now engaged in, they call it an anti-Nazi operation. They're basically taking out they have this extremist Nazi division of the Ukrainian military called the Azov Battalion, 125,000 fighters that march into battle with Nazi uniforms. They're dismantling the Ukrainian military. This is not an invasion in the sense that Russia is not trying to set up a colony in Ukraine. That's not what they want to do, right? They simply want to make sure that the killing of these people in these two regions stop. They want to make sure that this government that has been installed by the United States on their border doesn't continue to escalate the threats against them. The reality is Russia has waited 8 years. I hate to make this analogy, but every time Israel goes into Gaza, Israel will get hit with 3 rockets, and then they'll go into Gaza and they'll just slaughter hundreds of people. Their response will be, well, Israel has the right to defend itself. And it'll be 3 Israelis got killed, maybe 2 Israelis got killed. Well, this situation has gone on for 8 years in Donetsk and Lugansk. And it's not 1 or 2 people that have gotten killed. It's 14,000 people that have gotten killed. And Russia has waited and waited and waited 7 years for this agreement to be implemented. It's not happening. And so finally, after 7 years, after 14,000 dead, Russia is saying, okay, this is going to stop. And we're going to go in and we're going to dismantle your military. And we're going to make sure that these people on the eastern regions who we wanted to be part of Ukraine, we didn't want them to be independent. We wanted them to be part of Ukraine. You really are not going to let them be part of Ukraine. Now we're going to protect them and you're not going to slaughter them anymore. And I don't think Russia is in the wrong in doing this. I think that they are correct. That's not to say that there aren't atrocities in war, right? And that's not to say that there aren't innocent people who've been hurt, right? I don't deny that. But overall, Russia is right and the Ukrainian government is wrong. And that's just, if you're an honest anti-imperialist, you have to look at it this way. And the world communist movement gets this. The communists all over the world are honoring Donetsk and Lugansk. It's only Western hipster liberals who don't get this. It's kind of shocking to me to see how much distance there is between the world communist movement and American hipster liberals who think they're communists. It's shocking to me.
Just to put it in perspective, the 14,000 deaths are in these tiny little regions.
Right.
We like to measure things in the United States based on how many 9/11s they were. And that was 3,000 people that died in a nation of 330 plus million people. This is a tiny region, and they've had almost 5 times as many deaths.